up to speed, up to speed, up to speed.
Live from the apocalypse, scarier than the concept of communism is to Americans, this is State of the Game. Welcome, all the people, all the beautiful people. I am Dan O, and I don't overvalue my own frustration. Think about it. But I'm with someone who's truly an incredible person, and a lot of the reasons, the statistics behind me, the Spotify rap, like all these plus signs in listeners, streams, and followers, due to this gentleman right here. I will say, I posted, so it was in the RMPP chat. I've been doing a lot of live chatting, just jumping into the live chat, talking to folks. It was one of them say, "Hey, what is your coast if he's in Africa?" He was like, what do you do? And I was like, here's the thing, Free Music Empire, you can search it wherever you get podcasts. He pulled up the No Name episode.
Ooh,
listen to the No Name episode. And it wasn't but like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes in, he was like, "Hey, Diggy is so real." I was like, fucking right he is, every goddamn time. Every goddamn.
Shout out to that man.
Yeah, man. So it's great to have you here as always. And this is the OG shit. This is what we built this foundation on. I am still, by the way, anybody who hasn't caught up on it, that fucking conversation with Lungs, Feek, and No Face was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some smart folks.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm still rolling around a lot of the concepts that they talked about. I think that's a conversation that I chew on. It's a good one. And this is a good one too. So the three albums we're going to be talking about today are kind of examples to serve our point, right? Unsung the Rappers, Hand Painted Model Trains, that Mexican OT, Lonestar Luchador, and Chimera by Lord Olo.
And when you say that Mexican OT, that's his full name.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the name of the artist. Yeah.
Yes. And you know what OT stands for, right?
No.
Out of Texas, baby.
Oh. Okay. I should have put two and two together. Yeah.
That's fantastic. OT's great. OT is great. Yes. So it is the discussion is this, right? I'm certainly not going to ever do a friggin' podcast where I tell young artists how to get on, because I've never put out a rap album, okay? And I'd be full of shit. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be one of those self-help guys who doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. So, or like not even self-help guy, but the rise and grind folks,
It's all theoretical. Yeah, they speak in theoretical.
They're like game planning what NFL players should do with their money. Like, you need to calm the fuck down. So that's not what I'm going to do. This is focused on the listener side, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you are listening to someone you've never heard before.
Yeah.
How do you listen to them? And I'll tell you what the stakes are. Okay. Because we've all had conversations. Everyone who loves music, right, who's diehard for music, has had the conversation where you're like, I hated that person, or I didn't like that person, or I didn't understand that person, and now I love them.
Yeah.
If you really diagnose, those years were wasted. Those years it took you to learn how good this person was were wasted years you could have been enjoying.
So, okay, I'll let you finish, because that's interesting. You said wasted.
Yep, I did.
But aren't those years part of the process to getting to enjoy them?
So you're thinking of it in a holistic kind of way. I'm talking just kind of in a profit and loss way. right?
Okay.
Like
Okay. Yep.
what we want is to get to knowing they're good quicker.
Right.
Does that make sense? Maybe I should
Yeah.
have put that differently. But it's we want to get there quicker. We
Mhm.
want to tighten our process up. So we say, all right, first listen, I didn't get it. Second listen, I'm locked in. I get it.
Mhm.
Right? How do we do that? How do we adjust the way we listen to music so that we can break down the components of what we're hearing?
Mm. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Now I'm following you. Yeah.
All right. And that's why I wanted to throw three completely different albums at you,
Hmm.
right? So that we could look at this and say, oh, what are the strengths? What it makes this unique? Or what is it that I'm looking out for when I'm hearing this? What's the interesting? You know? And because we always talk about right being interesting, you know, but then being interesting is kind of the top of the umbrella, right? It's like it flows down from there, right?
Right.
There's specific components of being interesting that you can actually break down. We're
Mhm.
not just giving, big vague concepts and walking away. Um, so that's I think the mission here today. Um, yeah, I don't know if I explained that in the breakdown.
No, you did. I'm following you.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, what is your experience over the years? How do you feel the way you listen has changed? Let's just start with when we started State of the Game.
I mean, I think over the years, the last couple of years, just the way I view, like I hear music, I think has evolved. I think when you listen to it so much and
Yeah.
in such a focused way, I think you subtly start engaging with the music a little differently. So I like when I hear music now, I almost picture it like I'm stepping into a room. Every song is like a room. And it's almost like a physical sensation. I can feel like the different parts of the song and then like the presence of the artist as well. Yeah, I mean it's just a different, and it's just something that's come on like relatively recently, I would say. But
That's
yeah.
awesome. I mean, because you really do when you think about stepping into a new room.
Yeah.
You're stepping into a new room. What are you looking for? Who do I know in this room? Right? What
Mhm.
what is here? Are there books here? Is there punch here? Like, what is this?
Right.
So you really do have to start grasping your environment and take your time and drink it in. It's and you so this is one of the and what you're talking about is really good because the way people listen to music aggressively now. I don't know if
Mm.
you like because the timeline has sped up, right? The
Yeah.
reaction cycle is sped up.
Now, when you say aggressively, what do you mean by?
I mean, so new album drops.
Yeah.
What do you think of this album? Everyone's asking you at the time. What do you think of this album? Can you imagine turning to your timeline and saying, "I'm not sure. I'm still figuring it out."
Right.
The timeline would rip you apart.
Right. It's
They
you know
need
either
you. They need you to go hard in the paint one way or another.
right. They need you to have. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So
There's pressure to have an opinion. You saying there's like pressure to have an opinion formed about something very quickly?
yeah, I mean this Drake is trash, or this is a classic. Like it all happens in a matter of minutes. Sometimes it's not even done with the first listen. Like people are people, and there's a pressure to be first. So I guess the comparison would be, you remember how news changed with the 24-hour news cycle
Mhm.
and TMZ outpacing the news cycle, right?
Right.
And fact checking became the enemy. right? It was like, we don't have time for fact check.
Right.
You have to get this out, right?
It's like Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last.
And so that's how it's become, not just for news, for all of us, like for social media discussion of music, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because I've definitely, I noted this on an episode, I can't remember which one, but I was like talking about how I've noticed journalists, when Armand Hammer drops an album, they'll be quiet about it for a while. There is no instant reaction cycle with Armand Hammer. I might have told this to Elucid. But like, because nobody wants to, fuck it
Look
up and get
stupid.
beaten down.
Yeah.
Because both of those dudes are on social media.
Will. Because
And
no one, like, everyone wants to have an opinion, but for guys like Arm & Hammer, they don't want to have an uninformed opinion because they know, like, they'll get corrected.
you do not want to
Like,
get
if you
cooked.
say, "Hey, song is about XYZ," you know you'll have at least 5 fans like, no, are you stupid? Are you not paying attention? You're not listening? The song's about ABC. And
There was I'll give you an example of that. My favorite example, right? There was a lady who wrote a Pitchfork review for Mayhem Loren, a Mayhem Loren song.
okay.
And I think it was called White Girl. It was a relationship song, dating a white girl. And she was like, this is pretty boring, paint by numbers relationship song, blah, blah, blah. And Mayhem Loren cooked her and was like, bitch, this is about cocaine. You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And like, it's like, but think about it. Condé Nast is who runs Pitchfork. Condé Nast loves hiring like Yale, Harvard people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? People that probably don't move in the circles with the terminology Mayhem Loren has. So how would she know? Right? But so he cooked her, and I was like, that's always the danger. If you're gonna stick your chest out as a music reviewer and be like, here's what this is, you better know what the fuck you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it is a risk because you have to be fast but accurate at the same time. And I mean that's most of the time that's hard to do both at the same time.
And it's like you've heard me when I interview people, and I'll have an analysis, I'll drop the analysis, and at the very end of it, I'll say, does that make sense, or am I pulling shit out of my ass?
Right.
I'm
But
not
you can't
insecure.
say that in a review. Like, yeah, does that make sense to you? Yeah, like
It's not, I'm not insecure. It's just, it's that, like, I want to give the artist space to jump in, like,
yeah,
in that case, and be like, nah, man, I ain't fucking real. Because it sucks getting that wrong. It sucks.
Yeah. And what I've noticed about us is that we don't usually interview people like the week their album dropped.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
There's always been like a delay, whether it's like 2 weeks, 3. I know some people we've talked about albums that have dropped like a month ago. So you've had time to really like sit with it and really digest and come up with something.
Yep.
And an analysis that other critics wouldn't quite have that time or quite doing that investment.
Yeah. That's dope. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've had time, and that's always been built into Free Music Empire, right? We always hated like first week reviews. We always hated that shit.
Yeah.
We were always like, nah, man. Like, I remember sitting waiting for 6 months, and then being like, boom, I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, growing up, I used to just tell people like, all this music is mine. Because they would come up to me and be like, what do you know about Sarah Vaughan? What do you hear when you're talking about Sarah? I'm like, all this music is mine. I don't give a fuck when it was released.
Right.
All of it. I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, you saw her
Yeah.
on TV. You know how shiny her teeth are. I don't give a fuck. I've heard this album. I know this artist. Like, that was the focus, right? That time doesn't matter. You should be able to hear the music and know it's special.
Yes. Agreed.
So that focus carried over to starting Free Music Empire, right? And that was like, I should be able to hear this and live with it. And that I started posting reviews where I fucked up and didn't understand some shit. And laying that out there is like, here's what I missed about X, right? Here's what I thought initially, and here's what I was missing.
Right.
And I mean, that's how I want to do it to let people know. But yeah, that's been fun as a process. But yeah, the process is always being able to hear things better, like being able to take things in, because sometimes you miss the boat on an artist. Like, he'll take your relationship with Young Thug,
Yeah.
where
Oh yeah.
you were anti Young Thug for a while, right? This
Mhm.
is jarring. I don't like this. There isn't really a lot of meaning behind it. And then we started to live in a post Young Thug world where everything was so influenced by Young Thug. And going back to the material that started, you were like, these knockoff Young Thugs make me love Young Thug a lot more.
And
Was that it?
I think it was that, and I think sometimes you have to think about the way you think as well, and really challenge like the way you have to understand the way you listen to things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I heard Young Thug at first, like I didn't understand it because I didn't really have like a frame of context. And the way that I listen to, rappers or artists didn't really fit the context for a person like Young Thug or rapper like Young Thug.
Yeah.
But then, once you start realizing that and realizing how you listen to music, then you can start challenging assumptions and kind of breaking outside of the thinking of how you view music
Such
and
a
how you do
critical
things.
point. Such a critical point to build on that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I remember I was watching an interview with Isaiah Thomas a long time ago, right?
Which
And
one? The OG Isaiah Thomas?
not the one the Celtics ruined, the original Detroit Isaiah Thomas. So the he was being interviewed. He was like, people hated me. And I was like, this isn't fair. You don't know me. You don't know who I am. And I was like, you're missing something important. Like, I understand your point. We don't actually know who you are. You might give to charity. All these, I don't fucking right.
Mhm.
But beyond that, basketball has a lot of personality. Like,
Yeah,
the way your game works says a lot about you,
for sure.
right? If you hear Jokic interviewed, he sounds like how he plays basketball,
Yeah.
right?
You
Like,
like Coltrane headline, you play how you live.
exactly. So in the game, we could see who you were in the game and how you played the game. And a lot of us hated that and thought you were a dickhead, right? But like, it in rap music, it's a similar deal, because you'll sit there with an artist and you hear their story and you hear how they convey their story, and you're like, oh, this guy, I don't like this person. Like, I don't this is not somebody I want to hang out with. This is not somebody I vibe with.
Right.
Does that make sense? And what you can do, if you overvalue that, you can miss out on good art.
Mm-hmm.
When you're listening for great music, you're not trying to make friends.
Mm. When you're listening to great music, you're not trying to
Because I'll break
expand
it.
on that.
You're never gonna meet Mariah Carey. Okay? But
Right.
music will be there. Right? So
Right.
don't overvalue how simpatico you are with that individual. The other part of that is like, you know, these people have, if you feel too connected, right, to their personalities, you're going to be extra disappointed when a scandal breaks, right? Or they're just not how you imagined them, you know?
Right. I
And
mean
rappers,
the
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
go no go yeah go ahead.
I had rappers who I looked up to, who I went to shows, and I was really excited to talk to them, and they blew me the fuck off. And I walked out of there and said, it is my job as someone who cares about music to not care about that exchange.
Right.
It is my job to be smarter than that, to be
Right.
able to say, who cares? Enjoy this music, continue to be a fan, continue to support, because the music is more powerful than a handshake or a hug or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, I mean you can. I think that when you detach yourself from the personality, you can appreciate like how to explain this. You begin to appreciate the technical aspects more. So instead of appreciating necessarily an artist, you can appreciate their contributions to the genre that you love. And you can appreciate their technical ability in a way like you don't have you don't have to like someone to deem them a genius. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right. No, like Miles Davis, you know, had lots of domestic abuse problems, and like there's just lots of people who've been through shit. Uh,
And who've done a lot of shit right.
right. And so, you know, the music exists, and like I understand cutting off and not listening to music if someone's being predatory and they're actively being predatory and you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
fund them. Totally get with that, but don't get mad at me if I listen to Miles Davis now, even though he used to do that, because he's gone. So I'm not
And
funding
yeah, I
negative.
mean, and that's like because I've had this conversation with people before. A lot of people can't like separate the personal
Yeah,
from, but I think when you're able to do that, you can view things as said on a technical level, and you can see things and you can hear things that sometimes you wouldn't be able to see if you're so caught up and enamored with the personality.
exactly. Yes. And so it is perfectly acceptable to listen to music however the heck you want to listen to music. This
Right.
is, you know, totally. If your mission is to catch as much good music as possible,
Mm-hmm.
then being too married to the personality of the performer is going to get in the way.
For sure.
You're going to be listening for the wrong things. And this is not even like they might disappoint you, be a dickhead. Beyond that, even if they aren't, if they make a turn in their music, right? Future used to be a nice fella. Used to make NBA bumper music, dude. Like, not gonna lie, it was fun. And then it went real dark, you know? Like, and if you're personally invested in like, but that was my buddy Future who did the bumper music, you're not going to give him the space to grow in a different direction.
Yeah.
So that or reflect where his life is at that point. You can't hold people in that place. So that you got to really
Right. And then you're going to hold it against him when he doesn't perform or behave in the way that you thought he should, based on something you created in your mind,
Yep,
essentially.
absolutely. So which album would you like to talk about first?
Oh, you can start because
Let's you know what? Let's go with Al Chimera,
mm-hmm.
Lord Olo, I've got a Lord Olo ski mask coming in the mail. I'm very excited about that. But he's killed it on features. He had an incredible feature. I think it was on like Incorruptible Saints, with Milk and Sleep Sinatra.
Mhm.
Televangel beats are on this. I think Al Chimera, this came out this year. It's got a lovely cover. I think the production on it is quite good.
For sure.
Because you've got Televangel, you've got AJ Suede, you got Christ Koopa, who are all very talented folks.
Yeah.
And they all represent a real certain sound that comes through here. Like, these beats are interesting to me. How would you describe the production?
It's funny because I think it of the three albums, I like this one was my favorite.
That's awesome.
Because I think the the production, like you said, the production to me it comes off as very atmospheric. And to go back to what I was saying at the beginning about, hearing music like stepping into a room, like every song on the album felt like a different room in like the same house.
Yeah.
Uh, and what I loved about it, because to kind of expand on the metaphor, it almost was like he was like a host and he was giving you a house tour.
Yeah.
Al Chimera, and he's like walking you through each room, and it was really I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I'm glad. It's I think there's a lot to talk about with this album, but starting when we're talking about the production, to me, the production is almost it's regal.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you look at the album cover, it has a lot of gold on it. It has a lot of gold. There's dark colors in the background, but there's a lot of gold. And these beats sound regal. They shine. And it's that Northwest kind of Televangel sound. It's real dope and very good stuff. The other part of it that I think stands out to me, the elements of why should you be interested in Lord Olo? Why should you remember that name and bookmark it? So the ear for the beats, right? Because you're right, these beats feed into each other. This is an album that really is seamless. You can listen to it, done with it. How long is it? Is it 29 minutes or something?
29 minutes, yeah. 11 songs, 29 minutes.
Yeah. It's a real sleek experience. It's not too long at all. It's not too short either. It feels right, Olo is someone who can do a lot with his voice.
Yeah.
I
mean, his voice is very diverse.
Yes. I felt like he did a lot of different flows on this album.
Yeah.
A lot of different tempos and paces. From Happy is crazy.
That was my favorite beat. I mean, that was such I don't know who did that beat. That was such an interesting beat to me.
I think Olo might have produced that.
Yeah, great beat.
Yeah. Olo produced that himself. Yeah, he has some beats on here. So My Groove, Olo's voice bounces all over that Televangel beat. Yeah, I love Ofrenda with Wish Baby, Eyes Up. Oh, War is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like his flow is so. Then so the other thing about that I think is interesting to hear, because if you get good enough at this stuff, you pick up the attributes that are good with the MC. But once you pick those up, you start thinking about what is their mission statement, right?
What are they trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish here?
Right. What is this about? Yeah.
Right.
And I think this album is Olo kind of saying, I don't have these fucking limitations you guys are arguing over. Like
Mm.
I'm better than all this shit. And he's confidently stepping into so many different songs that all fit together to let you know, like, I am that guy.
Mhm.
And like, Olo doesn't sound like an underground artist to me.
In what way? How do you think an underground artist sounds?
Like what I was saying, you remember, like I said, I heard B.O.B. mixtapes before he was a thing, right?
Right.
Uh, Before he made the wedding song with Bruno Mars, right?
Beautiful. Was that Beautiful Girls?
Something like that. The
Beautiful.
But yeah, that took over the whole goddamn world. But
Oh yeah.
back before, when he was just a mixtape person, I was always like, this is a pop star. Because what the music he was making was so deeply like catchy and mainstream. And like, he obviously had skills that were for the world. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If you're an underground artist, you a lot of times you have a specific uh, set of things you like that will never fit into the mainstream.
Right.
Think about our guys from last week, right? Lungs,
Right.
Eat, No Face. These are never going to be like platinum stars because they're aggressively interested in jarring sounds.
Mm.
And that is not what the radio's interested in. That is not
Right.
pop sphere is interested in, right? Like, so
Yeah, there's not a lot of in the main space. There's not a lot of experimentation. There's not a lot of appetite for something new, for the new. I or what I should say, untested, not untested. Maybe that's the wrong word. Unproven, maybe.
well, there are people who are like, moving around and changing what they do and experimenting to some extent, but they're not doing it like Fat Boy Sharif is.
No, no.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about is the experimentation on that level. That's not something that is going to be a mainstream situation. So
Right. In terms, right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yes.
I feel like Olo can definitely be a mainstream situation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs on here where I'm like, oh, definitely. Like he's got catchy hooks.
He's got pop sensibilities. That's kind of I like to refer to it as like he has a pop sensibility. Like he knows what sounds catchy.
Even that song "Heaven Belongs to You," that last song that closes it out.
Yes.
That's a jam, dude. Like that's you could play that for somebody who wasn't initiated with any of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, "Shit, this is good." You know what I mean? Like they would
Right.
catch it because
That'd be a song like you go on a road trip with your friend and you guys get in the car and they're like, hey, play that song.
Yep.
And you're right, I don't want to say not a lot of underground artists make those types of songs, but that's a special or I should say that's a specific type of song. When someone said and you got to have the right sensibility to make those types of songs where people hop in the car and be like, hey, play that song you played for me last week. I want to hear that again.
Yeah. It's a really good this album's a really good marriage of great production and great rhyming. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um
Yes.
it's just, it's not clearly thematically about stuff that you need to pull apart or anything like that. You know, it might have deeper meaning that I don't understand or know. That's fine. But it's not something that's going to present itself and it's not something you're going to feel like you need in order to understand it.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You can appreciate. I think you can appreciate it on multiple levels. I think.
Yep.
And I think he does a really good job of because what I thought about, like what I liked about this album is that I think it when we're talking, I think the theme of the show is how listeners listen to music, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does a great job. It incorporates elements of like the strengths of all three albums. This is like the blend of the strengths of all three albums, I think.
Oh, interesting.
I think he did a good job, like you said, with the beats and the production.
Yep.
But I also think he did a good job displaying his personality.
And switching flows,
Yeah.
keeping it exciting. Like, so one of the things with these three albums that you're going to get like a hold of is that you have an obligation as a writer. You have an obligation to like be good at this from a writing perspective and test yourself amongst the greats, right? Ultimately, if you're not great at writing and you're a rapper, you're going to have limitations because you're resting so hard on delivery. There's lots of people with great deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to separate yourself, right?
Right.
And so, but great writing's not enough by itself because you're an entertainer. And if you're an entertainer, you need to entertain the people who paid to see you.
Right.
So that's what you need to do. You need to be able to entertain the audience. But if your writing's not there, you're missing something, right? So you're right. The Chimera is a really good balance of it all.
Yes.
Very good writing, very smart stuff. Like there's a lot of interesting things. We talks about like not trusting Joe Biden and stuff, and like just like throwing interesting things in there that you're like, whoa, that was weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can listen to this album and get a sense of who he is.
Right.
I mean, and I think that's really, as an artist, that's really all you can hope for. Like that when they're done with this, maybe they'll like a couple songs, but even if they don't, they're like, okay, like I know what this guy is. I kind of have an idea of what this person's about, and they either like it or don't like it, but at least they feel something.
Absolutely.
I think that's a Kanye line. So
boom, Kanye's back. State of the Game All-Star. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and I think so. When you're talking about things you need to know, right? We talk. It's in the breakdown. We need to know what is your sound. What does a Lord Olo song sound like? My answer to this question would be, it sounds clean, but it's got teeth in it. It bangs, There's nothing gentle about a Lord Olo beat, right? It's clean, but it bangs. So that's cool. What worries you about it? Oh yeah. What is this album about? This is the album that is affirming his character, right? This is an album that is like, watch what I can do. you don't even know what I can do.
Mhm.
And he lays out all the problems outside of himself. And I think it's I like those kind of albums, you know, especially from an artist I don't know that well.
Right.
I like that hip hop makes you prove what you're doing, you know. So that's certainly enough for me. Um, yeah, and he is a good mixture. Or his personality and pace is the third category I put on there. Um, I think I really like the changes in pace, the amount of pace, the amount of different speeds he's comfortable in.
Yeah.
I really like the mixture of kind of his train of thought. So he seems to really follow that
Mhm.
and know what he wants to do.
Right.
So the other thing I would add to the thing is this album doesn't sound like his peak.
Yeah, I would agree.
This definitely is an album where you're like, oh shit, he could totally top this. And it's really, really good.
Yeah, it is good. I think I mean, is this his what album is it? Is this his first or second album?
I
You know
don't I don't even know what people are doing. But because
I
it's
mean, I think you're right.
well,
I think there is, yeah, there is a lot of room for growth. I mean, to be honest, I thought the track listing could have been a little bit tighter. Like I thought, like it can be diverse, but I thought the flow of it was no, but it's weird because I like there's nothing about the track listing that bothers me, but there's something that does bother me at the same time about it.
interest.
Uh, yeah, I think there's a lot of room for growth. I think I'd love to see him do like a one. I think that's the thing in the underground now, doing a one producer album.
Hell yeah.
I'd love to see what like how many songs did Televangel do on this project?
Okay, by the way, this is not his first album.
Okay.
He's got, albums going back 2017,
Oh
2014.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. This is somebody who's been around. So I just wanted to be clear. And we are not talking about new artists because we have basically we're talking about anybody who's new to you, right?
Yeah. There's a
Uh
lot of artists I need to meet.
exactly. You gotta it doesn't matter whether it's their first album, it's a matter of you listening, how do you figure it out? So
Right.
uh so he did Triflin, Televangel did Triflin, Televangel did My Groove, and that's it.
I yeah, I'd love for him. Was there an executive producer for the album? Or was
I don't
he
know.
Yeah, I think I'd love to see what someone's vision of Olio would be.
I would love it to be Suede. I would
Mm,
love to see Suede produce an
yeah,
entire Holy Woman.
Olio, yeah.
I really like Suede's production. I think Suede is a very, very good and smart producer
Yeah.
and would be able to really connect a vision up there.
And I think just talking with the artists that we've talked to this year, you realize, you realize how important it is to have like an objective voice in the studio with you, like someone who views you as an artist, like objectively as an artist. Like, hey, this is what I want to hear from you, even though you're like standing right in front of me. This is what I want to hear from you as an artist.
Right. Someone who knows what your best sounds like
Yes.
can hold you to it, right? Like that's key. So yeah, he's got a good group because Christ Cooper's a great like any of the producers on this I would love to see a full length with, right? Christ
Yeah.
Cooper's great. I love everybody's beats on this, so I fuck with it. I'm really glad that you connected with it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure how you would take it, but
Yeah.
let's go to hand painted model trains.
Mm-hmm.
This is Unsung the rapper, who has his own podcast. I was on that podcast. He's a great dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's Unseen Underground. Uh, this one's 35 minutes long, 35, 39, not much longer.
Mm-hmm.
This there's anyone who ever takes shots at this album only says one thing,
What's that?
that the beats aren't enough.
The
That's the
beats
only
aren't enough.
negative I've heard. I have not heard anyone shitting on his lyricism. I have not heard anyone shitting on anything that way. I've heard people say, I just need more from these beats.
I mean, I liked the beat. To be honest, I needed more from him, but I liked the beats.
Oh, more from him.
Yeah.
You big gangster.
But I thought like I thought the beats were the strong part of the.
Because he produced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he produced all of it.
Yeah.
And
I thought the production was the strongest part of
I don't I liked the production. I'm just telling you what I had heard from other people.
Oh.
From my vantage point, I like the production because he knows what he's doing, right? It's really creepy production.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite song on here is Sunset as Wallpaper.
Yes. Yes. That's mine too. Like that's when the album picks up for me at Sunset as Wallpaper.
Because that is where he's like, he sounds creepy enough to match the beat. And now it's like you're being haunted by a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because this is about the death of his father, this whole album. And so it should sound that way, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think creepy is a strong word. I think unsettling.
Yes.
It's unsettling. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I really liked the production on the album. I think there's an incongruence between the production and him and his rapping.
Interesting.
I didn't feel like they were as in sync as they could have been.
So yeah, when you say more from him, are you talking on that level of like you're not like he is not flowing into the beat effortlessly, or are you talking about like you're just bad at writing this stuff? Like how far are you going with it?
I think it's like when like to continue the room metaphor, when you're in the room, you've got to have like the right furniture and the right alignment. And like I think he just didn't have the room set up correctly. Like I didn't, because not only just like the production, like I thought the production was good, but I didn't think like his flows at times, or his delivery, or like his personality. I think that's what I meant by more. Like I didn't, after listening to this album, I didn't get a sense for who he really. I didn't feel like I got a sense of his personality.
Interesting. Well, yeah, and that is something that he has talked about, because the thing about Unsung is he is hilarious. He is one of the funniest fucking people in underground rap. His podcast is hilarious. He has a very dry, funny sense of humor, but he doesn't really utilize it in the music.
Mm-hmm.
So we listened, you remember, he's friends with Teddy Faley, who did the Teddy Brown album. Do you remember that?
Right.
album?
Yeah.
And that album has a lot of trauma in it,
Yeah.
but it also has a lot of humor in it, dark humor that feeds
Right.
into it and creates a full picture. I think maybe that's what you're pointing to, that like this album is so dark and it's so sad that it's like unrelentingly so.
Um.
There's a part, like, was it track 9, Divisions of Time, near the end of that song, where he says, like, I'm standing like next to my father's coffin. He never would have let me stand this close to him if he was alive.
Hmm.
It's unrelenting like that. This is a hell of an album, in terms of just being about a thing. Like, there's songs on this album where he's talking about bringing like his dad's clothes to Goodwill. Like, this is a sad album, but I think what you're talking about is the beats provide you a dimension, right? That's
Right.
the ghostliness, right? We got that. The tragic nature of this album is that other dimension. I think you were like, where's my third dimension?
Yeah. I mean, because
Is that fair? Or what?
I want to know. I want to know kind of more about you. I want to know more about you as well as an artist. So yeah, you I don't know how you I think as an artist you can rap about something, but you can also interject your personality and your it's almost like how do I say this? It's almost like a good reporter, maybe like a good sports reporter or something. Like they'll tell you what happened, but they'll also interject their personality and let you know, show, demonstrate how what is happening makes them feel and what their perspective on it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. I just
Well,
didn't
yeah.
get like
I just think it's the writing on this album is very literary, right? It's a very literary kind of thing. There's some beautiful imagery, dissection of stuff, and it's a very smart album.
yeah.
Um, but I can see how, if you're like, I don't have drums, right? Like, I don't have drums to make it fun, and this is very tragic and it's very literary, so it's very dry, right? The flavor I'm
Right.
getting is dry, and I need something uh, to take care of that dryness.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
So I understand that, and I think I love this album. I love this album. But I think that is an opportunity for this album, is like, catch us off guard with your humor a little. Um, put a little more into these beats so that it moves a little more, so that there's like, um, surprise us, right? Surprise us a little bit in how you're creating and conducting these.
Like I think of like Kendrick Lamar off of Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
Is it Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst?
Yeah.
That's a really sad song.
Yeah.
But yet there's humor and there's perspective in it. Like, he's where the second verse where he's rapping from the perspective of the young lady.
Okay.
That approached him off the street about a song that Kendrick wrote on this last project, the project before.
Gotcha.
That you can still rap about something very sad, but yet still give perspective about it that's still engaging in a way. It's like painting with different colors is what I think that's the metaphor we use in the previous show.
And he has the colors, right? It's just he's got to start feeding other parts of his personality into this,
Yeah.
so that he doesn't, because he's like not giving us some of the coolest things about him, you know.
Right. I mean, he's got the furniture. He's just got to arrange it in the room the right way, I think.
That makes sense. So to go into some of these questions, you know, what does an unsung song sound like? I think you could answer this, right? This is it sounds beautiful but sad, right? Like yeah, it's tones, right? It's tones that stick with you. He does have a signature sound here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, the what worries you thing, I guess there's a little, this is an album that I won't dock at all for any of the, like, too much of what worries you, because this is dedicated to the death of his dad. Like,
Yeah.
he's trying to get
Right.
over this, he's trying to move through it. Like, I totally get that and understand it. And this is going to be an important album for people that are in similar situations. For when you lose someone, you'll be able to come to this album and hang out with this album.
Yeah.
But when you're looking to the future, the next album shouldn't sound like this, right? The next album should be more of these different colors, different dimensions of the personality, right?
Right. And it's like we were saying about, I'm not judging the content. I'm judging like the technical aspect of
Right.
it. You know, like that. I think that's what you can look at. Like, technically, is there a way he could have expressed this idea better?
Yeah, I mean,
And I think there's a lot of I don't want to say there's a lot of room for growth in that way, but I think there were ways that he could have expressed it what he wanted to better on a technical level.
yeah. The the third, like, I think that ties into the personality and pace thing, right?
Mhm.
There's songs here that really stick out to me that I think are like, as example, we talk about runs a lot, right?
Mhm.
My favorite run on this album is probably 3, 4, 5. Odysseus recovers his house, messages, sun says wallpaper.
Yes. I mean, I liked Geode too as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Geode was, I think the 3, 4, 5, 6. I would
Okay.
add
But that's like, there's a real opportunity there to build that, like, there's a lot. If you, like, I would say, if you listen to this album you've never heard unsung, you should be excited for the next album, because um even if it doesn't give you everything, even if you accept Kay's criticisms of the album, these are easy things to overcome,
yeah.
right? Like, he needs to embrace the freedom of it, right? He's set up a framework, and it's a great framework. I really like this album. I would say the next mission is to challenge that framework.
Yeah.
As
I
I
mean,
said,
I
the main takeaway for me would be surprise me,
yeah.
right? Surprise me
I,
next.
I think it's like he's making a meal. He's got all the ingredients. Just a little bit of seasoning is going to really make it pop.
Yeah. That's why I put this album in the mix with Lonestar Luchador,
Mm-hmm.
because Lonestar Luchador has seasoning and then some,
Mm-hmm.
personality and then
Yeah.
some, right?
Yes.
So if you could take a little bit of that free that energy, it would go a long way.
And that was the thing, because I listened to that Mexican OT first,
Yep.
and then I went into Unsung. So
Ooh.
it's really the contrast between the two. Uh, really, I mean, and that's that when you listen to music back to back, that kind of, it's almost like, with wine they give you like a palate cleanser. Sometimes you need a palate cleanser, because if you just drink one wine right next to the next one, you don't.
And see, that's the advantage I have over you. I know these albums, so I listened to Al Chimera first.
Mm.
Then I went Lonestar Luchador, and then in the afternoon when shit was calming down, I would get into that. I would get into the hand painted model trains, because waking up, logging into work, and putting on hand painted model trains is like,
Yeah.
that would be a lot, man.
See, and that, I mean, and that kind of ties into what you were saying at the beginning of the show. Like, you're right. Like, sometimes you can hear, you got to have the right context for the album, because
Right.
an album will sound different in the morning than it does at 12 o'clock at midnight. You know what I mean?
We talked about the Al Chimera cover. This is a cover that is just like the album. It's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Right.
a black and white, ruined structure, right? With the water and the whole deal. Uh, it's washed out, right? It's tragic. Um, it's perfect for this album. This is like a dark, cold day album,
Yeah.
where you were just stewing with what's ailing you.
Yeah. I did really like the cover. I thought the cover was great.
By the time I was done with that, I was like, man, I should really put this as a part of a King Cruel playlist. This would go really well with King Cruel.
I bet it would. I mean, if you put it next to King Cruel, I bet it would. It would bring out certain elements of it, like that had been. Yeah, I would agree with that.
That would be my thing. Is like, feel free to play with this album in the future, throw it into playlists, mix it up with shit, and act let it act as something that breaks uh, a pre-existing sound up. You know what I mean? In a
Mm-hmm.
playlist, right? Like, you've got like Lil Wayne and 2 Chainz, and then boom, you throw in this,
Yeah.
and it's like, holy shit, this is different. Like, this album is a special album, and I this is not saying your critiques aren't real, like, they're real, but I think there's a lot of life in this album.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to live with it in different places, different ways, man.
Yeah.
Uh, Lone Star Luchador. This is my favorite of the three. Full
Mm.
full disclosure, I am an idiot and I love this kind of shit. I love this kind of shit. It's fucking great. Um, I have so much fun with it. What how hard did this hit you? How was the first listen?
I thought he's got a big personality. And I thought he did a great job. Like, when you think of the elements, like, you think of the music in terms of how you listen to music. There's the beats, and there's like the musical atmosphere, and then there's the personality. And I thought he has a very charismatic, big personality. And just the tone, like from the gate, the commentator skit, that really like just set the tone for what I was going to be listening to.
It really does. It really does. When the shout out to Ralph Barbosa doing great work on this. Um, this album is 18 tracks,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only 38 minutes.
38 minutes, yeah.
It's pretty smartly put together.
Yeah, I think there's a there's a looseness about it that's really appealing.
Yep.
Smartly put together. It's almost like you don't know. It in a lot of ways it felt like a cartoon to me, or like a Red and Snippy episode.
Right.
You just didn't know what was going to come next.
Ren and Stimpy is such a great comp for this. Like, just I could never even. I was always terrified of Ren and Stimpy because of the sound effects. The sound effects were so terrifying.
Yeah, I mean that was an intense. It was an intense show. Like
It was an intense show.
for it to be on Nickelodeon, which is wild to me. That's the '90s, so you know, like.
Like this definitely has that. But as silly as it is, this is an album that really wants to be elite.
Okay.
Which is cool, right? Like, think about Cowboy in New York.
Yeah.
Why is that called Cowboy in New York? Because it's certainly not. It's certainly not a story song about him going to New York.
Why? Why is it?
Because he grabbed a Mob Deep beat. That's Shook One's part 2.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
The thing about this is mixtape shit, right? Mixtape shit. What happened a lot when there came New York was the first with the mixtapes. Everybody knows this, right? DJ Clue and all that shit. Right. But once that wave came in and Southern artists started making mixtapes and that floodgate opened, a lot of Southern artists were grabbing Shook One's Part 2 and rapping over it to prove that they were lyricists too.
Mm-hmm.
That, oh, this is your classic? Watch. I'm gonna do that. And I know a lot of East Coast people were like, how dare you? I was so happy I was like, that's such a compliment to that beat. And see the original song that you're like, watch. And that's what he's doing here. Cowboy in New York. I'm gonna grab your beat, your classic beat, and I'm gonna smash it.
Yeah, I did get, like you said, I did get a sense of ambition. There is an ambition in this album. Like he's really hell bent to show you how good a rapper he is.
Yep. Do you think it would be too much for me to say that this has some of the best skits of the year?
I mean, they're certainly memorable. And as I said, I think they fit. Because I'm trying to think. Do I can't even think of what are some of the most memorable skits of this year. I can't really think of any skits off
I can't think of a skit that was better than the Conscience sketch, like the Conscience skit. Track 14. That fucked me up, dude.
Yeah, and because like the last half of the album has multiple skits, right?
That whole rant of like, they say you should make good decisions and and try and save up for the future. And he's like, fuck that. That's broke people shit. And he was like, nah, you're doing great. Keep feeding me drugs. Like, fucking nuts, man. I was dying.
Yeah, I did like so. What he had the commentator parts 1, 2, and 3,
Yep.
the conscious skit, and then Spanky Tommy Lee.
Yep.
Yeah, I did it. It really felt like a Red and Stimpy episode to me. I thought it was, and that and that's kind of what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode about you have to challenge the way that you hear and think about music, because honestly, like this wouldn't have been my cup of tea,
Right.
but if you look at it as in what is the artist trying to accomplish, I think he accomplished what he was going for.
Glad you feel that way. Yeah. I mean, this cover really does represent what the album's going to be. You know,
Yeah.
it has every color you can imagine, right? It has all kinds of crazy shit happening. What was it?
I mean, I'm guessing he went on it looks like a shroom trip because he's got a
Right,
lot of mushrooms in there.
right. Psychedelic stuff. You got the planet in the behind his head, but you got like the
And then
lowrider,
the Cadillac in the
low
front,
rider
letting you
shit
know it's
going.
from Texas.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great fucking album to me. And we give you some reasons, right? Like practical reasons.
Okay.
I was very impressed with how he uses his voice. Right? Obviously, he actually talks about his flow a little bit. He talks about his flow and how he rolls his R's and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's just intoxicating, and it really is. Like him just I love Opera 2 with Maxo Cream because
Oh yeah.
both of those guys just have incredible flows, like incredible flows. I mean that 3-4-5 is nasty. That run is nasty. But the fifth song, Briannon, is my favorite because
I wasn't expecting that when
that is
Mitch.
when he starts just singing, like
Yes.
belting out, like, and I'm just like, wow, like, so there's a fearlessness about him.
Yeah, and I think the singing, like you see it a lot with who's that other artist? Like singing can be used as a tool. Like I think is it Action Bronson? Maybe it's Action Bronson who likes to
Yeah,
sing
yeah,
sometimes.
Mr. Wonderful. Yeah,
Right. And there's something charming about, someone singing off key in like a sincere way.
yep.
Like particularly when that person isn't known as a singer. Uh and it's really like helps disarm you or disarm the listener in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's unexpected, right? It like
Yeah.
what we talked about, like surprise me, right? He surprises you over and over and over again.
Right. Like I think of Homeboy Salmon remember when we were interviewing him and he had that song where he started singing. He's like,
Yep.
we're like, why do you? What was the choice behind that? He's like, yeah, that's just how I was feeling. Like, and that was the best way to express how I was feeling.
He's letting the music speak to him, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and over again. Oh my God, he does some singing, 15 missed calls. Like he utilizes his voice to the fullest extent. Like he gets an A plus plus from an entertainer standpoint.
Yeah.
And I think this does have a signature sound.
I mean, I think his personality is the signature sound to me.
But I think the Sonics are as fun as his delivery.
Yeah. Yes. I'd
Right?
agree with that.
Like it doesn't sound like drill music, right? It doesn't sound like underground music. It sounds like Texas, right?
Yes.
Um, I've got a friend, shout, I've got a friend who didn't know Texas music until I came back and started giving him Texas stuff. and he now loves Texas music. And I was like, you'll like this, right?
Yeah.
This sounds like Texas. And it's funny as hell, right? It's entertaining as hell. I think he will have this is very much an oppositional album to Hand Painted Model Trains we talked about.
Yes.
His challenge is going to be the opposite, right? His challenge is going to be, I want to keep my humor in check. I want to keep that in my bag. I want to be as horny as I want to be because that's fun. But I also want to be able to dig deeper.
Hmm.
You're going to grow older. You're going to mature. You're going to have experiences you want to talk about. You're not going to want to be trapped in a silly place.
Right.
Right.
I'd agree with that.
If you want to challenge your audience, the place for him to challenge his audience is to be a little bit, is to really surprise us by hitting us between the eyes. I would say with like, give us a full 6-minute story song. You know, with a surprise ending, like holy shit, right? Like that would really be like, wow, he's on some other shit. He's gonna have to surprise us lyrically.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me, like the Houston rappers, they're good at that. They're good at, they can talk their pimp shit, but at
Yep.
the same time, like they can give you when they need to like really dial it in and be like, oh, I got like I think like UGK. What's the song you
Well,
one day
the
is it one
album,
day
the album is Riding Dirty.
riding dirty, but what's the song one day the bar you is that's the song you played at the barbecue, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Like you listen to like Pimp C, like he's known to say like wild things for sure. But when he needs to dial it in and really lock in and express something serious, he has the ability to do that as well.
So one of the reasons why it's a classic, Riding Dirty, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you pull up the track listing, it has one of the most jarring transitions in the history of hip hop. And this is where our advice to would be, right? The first song on Riding Dirty is an intro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the prison call intro.
Yeah.
The second song is the first actual song is One Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
The song after that is Murder.
Yeah.
And murder isn't just about murder, and that's what makes it jarring. One Day is soulful as fuck.
Yeah.
It is the kind of song that's hard to listen to once. You bring it back, it soaks in. But
Mm-hmm.
Murder is a fast song. It's fast, it's aggressive. And when you get those two songs together, you start to understand what UGK is about.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's your first time hearing, a lot of people, their first time hearing him is Riding Dirty.
Right.
And they understood him by the end of the album. So they're going to have to do a little bit of that. Surprise your audience, provide your audience real shit. Pimp C was fun as hell, but he was talking what was in his heart.
Yes. Yeah.
So dig into that.
And you can have that. You got to have that balance. Because I mean, I think I think the Texas rappers, that's kind of what they're known for. Well, I shouldn't say they're known for that, but that's how I see them as.
Right.
Being able to, have fun, but at the same time, when they need to say something, they make sure that it's said.
Absolutely.
And understood.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think that makes sense. And so in terms of these categories. It certainly has personality and pace, right? In abundance.
Yeah.
Lots of different paces, all the personality you can imagine. Um, you know, I don't think I know what worries him, right? I don't think I've actually gotten an understanding of what bothers OT.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know what he likes, I know what he's interested in, right? But I don't think I know what bothers him, which I think is the opportunity here.
Mm.
That's going to be powerful, you know.
Oh,
Yeah, but I love this album, and I'm glad it sat with you as well.
yeah.
Yeah, man. The so yeah. In conclusion, what do you think listeners should keep in mind taking in like lots of different albums for the first time?
I think the key thing is, really think about how you think, really examine the way that you listen to music. Don't view an album through like your own lens. Try to have like some empathetic listening, as in what, like we said, what was the artist trying to do, and go from there. Okay, this is what I think the artist was trying to do, and then start examining, okay, how are they trying to accomplish what they were doing, what they set out to do,
And in the
and
other
then view it from that level, huh?
in the other direction too, it's not just I'm examining why I don't like this. It's also examining what is hitting so hard for you for an album you do like.
Yeah.
Why is it that this is connecting to me? Right?
And it can be an enlightening when you view it like that. Not only are you gaining gaining substance from the album, but you're also revealing like your own taste, and you're revealing things about yourself through listening to the album.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, when you are finding your musical like loves, they will say things about,
Yes, 100%.
like as an example about OT. The thing about OT is he's very sexual throughout this album, right? There's just a lot of humping around,
Yes.
but it's never in a scary ass mystical way. It's never like you're never worried about him. You're never like, oh, is he a predator? Like there's like a childish glee about his
Mm.
horniness, right? Uh, that I think speaks to his character. And that is what connects with me and my taste, right? That is how I am comfortable discussing this section.
Bro,
You know what I mean?
right.
I want everybody to be happy. Ultimately, so does OT.
And right, and that helps you, like, as I said, it helps when you discover that about yourself. Then you start incorporating that into your everyday life.
Right. Know yourself.
and
Know yourself
and
better.
so you're being reward not only are you being rewarded by appreciating aspects of the album more, but you're being rewarded by growing as a person.
100%, man. 100%. That's a great way to leave that.
Yeah.
That's a great conclusion. Um, recommendation corner. I'm gonna lead Psalm 1. I was so excited that Psalm 1 said yes to being our end of year guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was like fingers crossed, bated breath, but I didn't anticipate Psalm 1 giving us incredible recommendations along with ours.
Mm-hmm.
Jumped in and recommended Zulu, A New Tomorrow, which is a hardcore album out of Los Angeles, that is like very dope and very pro black.
Huh?
It's very dope, and it is so it's hardcore, like, hardcore, yelling and hard guitar. But at the end of each song, there's a really beautiful, smooth transition to the next song.
Okay.
So it's like rage, smooth, rage, and it's fucking incredible. It's such a cool album. I gotta get to know it. I gotta hit it more. So it's awesome. Yeah, so check that out. I think it's really dope. What was I gonna do here? It's a lot of good stuff out here, man. Oh, have you listened to The Aux by Blockhead, dude?
No.
Shit, bro. The Aux by Blockhead came out on Backwoods, producer. And he got everybody on that thing, dude. Armand Hammer, Open Mike Eagle, Aesop
wow.
Rock, but RXK Nephew, like, it's probably the best producer compilation of the year.
Okay, wow, I gotta add that.
Yeah,
I've been over the past week, I've been more cautious about listening and catching up on all the things that I've missed throughout the year.
15 songs. It's really dope. Yeah, you got to check it out. The Aux, AUX, and the third one, I guess I would say, it hasn't come out yet. Comes out maybe in February or whatever. Miles Bullen's new album, Time to Kill. I got a chance to hear it in advance. It's monstrous. It's beautiful. He's the best rapper in Maine, and I'm proud of that. I think he is great. So that's that. Would follow Miles Bullen when that comes out. Get it done. And Sankofa has an album called Bleeding of the Golden Goose that is coming out soon. And I am the first voice on the album. Pretty crazy. I never thought that would happen. So it's a great album too. Great album. Sankofa's had an incredible year. Yeah. So those are mine. Okay, what are you bumping?
As I said, I'm trying to catch up on some of the albums that I missed throughout the year, and one of the albums I missed was "Falling or Flying" by Georgia Smith.
Oh wow! Okay, I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, it came out like a couple weeks ago, and it's funny because I was driving in the car and I was listening to
Georgia Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, and she had a song "Feelings" featuring Jay Huss came on.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I'm interested. So I got into the album and I really like the album. I think there's been a lot of growth. Like her debut album came out 5 years ago, and you can hear the growth in those 5 years. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, no, she's that album's really, really pretty. Yeah, there's been a lot of really good R&B stuff. If you check out BJ the Chicago Kids album too.
Yeah, that's another. My cousin recommended that to me.
That's a good.
I gotta listen to that one too.
A lot of good R&B. We got to do an episode on that.
I mean, R&B is in a really strong place right now. It's
hell
phenomenal.
Hell yeah. So we will dig into that more certainly later on. But yeah, treat each other well. Yeah. Black Friday, I ordered a lot of hats. More hats on the way.
What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow bring? What will tomorrow